This is Teachers Talk Radio, and you are listening live.
Welcome to The Late Late Show. On today's show, I'll be talking to my guest about language education and technology, exploring in particular how things have changed since the early days of computer-assisted language learning, right up to today's world of smartphones and artificial intelligence.
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and you are listening live. Tune in live at ttradio.org, or to join in the conversation, download the Podbean app and search Teachers Talk Radio. Follow the hashtag TTRadio. Tune in, talk it out with Teachers Talk Radio.
You're listening to The Late Late Show on Wednesday, the 21st of January, 2026. I'm Graham Stanley, and my guest today is Alan Bray, an educator who has had a long-standing connection with language technology and education, having first explored this area back in the 1980s. Unlike many of my previous guests, Alan reluctantly started teaching back in 1964, first in secondary schools in England, and then he moved to Spain in 1988 and has been working there ever since. Alan has also been involved in computer-assisted learning for some time, and in our conversation we speak about how he became involved and how language teaching and technology has changed since those pioneering days. But first, let's hear the Teachers Talk Radio News.
This show is brought to you in partnership with Hachette Learning, publishers of professional development books and resources that support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. Level up your professional development today and visit hachetlearning.com to explore the full range of titles.
Hey teachers, it's Tom here from Teachers Talk Radio, just dropping in to tell you about Teachers Talk Connect 2026. We are back with our amazing big annual CPD and networking extravaganza in Manchester. It's on Saturday, the 14th of March, and tickets are completely free for teachers. Just head over to ttradio.org/Connect 2026 to grab your ticket today. We can't wait to see you there.
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and this is Teachers Talk Radio News.
Schools Week report that Ofqual's Sir Ian Buckham has spoken to MPs about the risks posed by AI, on-screen exams and his new rebuke powers. Sir Ian was quizzed by the Parliamentary Education Committee recently about a range of issues. He told the committee that Ofqual will publish research on the use of AI in marking exams soon, but stated that we don't believe AI is yet ready to undertake sole marking of student work. This, he said, is because it still makes mistakes and is hard to challenge. He did say it would be used to quality assure examiners' marking. Sir Ian also said he had signalled anxiety to DfE about the use of AI leading to cheating in qualifications with extended coursework writing. He said there is relatively little of this coursework, but highlighted English A-level, where 20% of the qualification is extended writing. Sir Ian told the committee, "I would not be being transparent if I didn't say I am concerned." Buckham also discussed the government pledge to cut 10% of exam time on average, calling it sensible, rational and also achievable. He said it would most likely see shorter exams in most cases, but there could be fewer exams. He added that Ofqual will be consulting on any proposals to do with reforming GCSEs and the evidence associated with it. These proposals would be published at an appropriate time. He also made comments about on-screen exams, saying Ofqual is seeking to temper the enthusiasm of some exam boards for these, whilst the practical concerns, such as schools having enough equipment, also needed to be further explored. Ofqual's new powers to publicly rebuke rule-breaking exam boards, where wrongdoing is not serious enough to warrant a financial penalty, were also mentioned. Sir Ian said Ofqual had received very sharp feedback from awarding bodies who said they would find a rebuke a very difficult thing to receive. For more detail on his comments to MPs, see Schools Week online. The BBC reports that a college in Devon will not be starting a new Year 12 sixth form group this September, due to not having enough pupils sign up to join. The college says only 4 out of 18 courses on offer would have been sustainable to teach. The decision by Oakhampton College was, according to a letter to parents, carers and students, not an easy one. Sixth forms across the country are reportedly finding it harder to offer the breadth of subjects students want and maintain viability. Changes to post-16 pathways, including V-levels and more technical options and routes to higher education and apprenticeships, have also contributed to issues. The changes aim to give more choice and flexibility, but can make it harder for smaller sixth forms to keep up. More details on BBC News. The BBC Middle East news feed also reports that in Gaza City, children have begun to return to school after years without formal education. Tents are serving as classrooms and some typical resources are missing, but it is a start, the report from UNICEF says. According to the latest information, 97% of schools in Gaza were damaged or destroyed during the last 2 years, meaning 658,000 school-aged children in the region have had no formal education. They have also experienced hunger, displacement and death of family and friends. The article features stories from children making the return, with many saying they had missed school but were nervous about going back. Teachers have also said they are happy about the return, but say there is no electricity, no internet and that pupils are struggling with trauma. At one school, staff say almost 100 students have lost one or both parents, had their homes destroyed or witnessed killings in the war. Despite all the difficulties, demand for places continues to rise, and education is once again an investment in children and the future. Finally, Schools Week report that AQA has removed the names of 2 photographers from one of its GCSE assessments over concerns their website may not be appropriate for students. One of the web pages contained a video of a fully naked man, while the other has photographs of models appearing to simulate sex. The removal comes after a teacher raised concerns to AQA. The exam board said, "We recognise that the photographers are distinguished artists in their field, but some of their content may not be appropriate for GCSE students." More details online. This has been Teachers Talk Radio News with Joe Fox.
Hello and welcome back, everybody. I'm very happy to be with my special guest, Alan Bray. Hello, Alan. How are you today?
I'm fine, thanks. Feeling quite honoured to be on your show.
Oh, I'm the one who should be honoured. So, Alan, we connected through LinkedIn, and I know that you have had quite an interesting journey as an educator. I would love to find out how it all started. Did you always want to be a teacher involved in education?
Oh, anything but. No, I certainly didn't want that. I started off in a junior school, very fortunate in that I went to an excellent junior school, and then managed to get entry to, they used to have then an 11 plus, and got entry to a grammar school, which was, I mean, there were certain things that I loved about it, other things that weren't quite as attractive. But I purposely thought that the last thing I wanted to do was be a teacher. You had to select, of course, by the time, it was very short on jobs at the time in Rochdale, where I'm from. And so the original idea was to leave at 16 and get a job, but there was nothing going really. So I carried on and stayed on. And did A-levels and went to university. I used to love history, but purposely didn't do history because I thought, well, if I do that, I'm going to finish up being a teacher. And I don't want to do that because I'd experienced the fear-provoking teachers of the grammar school. I mean, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but some of them were fear-provoking. And I certainly didn't want to start teaching. So, but unfortunately, once again, there were no real jobs. So I went to university and I studied law. I thought not history, because then I might finish up teaching. So I studied law, and so from there it was pretty difficult getting a job. I got a degree in law, but then
did you think? Sorry for interrupting, Alan, but this is really interesting. So, did you think you would become a lawyer or start working at in some aspect of the law then when you went to university to study law?
Well, it was quite funny actually. I had I thought of two opportunities. The first was economics, and I'd applied to London School of Economics, and which was pretty prestigious. I didn't know that at the time, but I was recommended to apply for that. So I applied for that, but after I was 18, I didn't apply for anything at 18. I wanted to go out and get a job. But once again, there were very few jobs around. King Cotton died or was in the death throes, and Rochdale was very dependent on cotton. So I finished up at university. I needed to get a few more marks to get to London School of Economics. But unfortunately, so I went as a third year in school. But unfortunately, my mother became seriously ill, and my sister left work, and she looked after my mother. So for about 6 months, I left school, and I'd already had an interview at London School of Economics, and they said, if you get a few more marks, you're in. So it was I didn't need a lot of marks to get in there, but I left school and went to work in a light engineering company. A friend of my, of the family, well, a friend of my best friend, grandfather of my best friend. So I didn't then take any more exams, so I didn't get in. They said, sorry, you needed to get those, so you can't go in London School of Economics. So I applied for law, and I went to Southampton. And I'd already had I was due to go for an interview, but explained I couldn't go because I was working now. And they said, I got a really nice thing from the headmaster. And so he wrote to them and they let me in. So I studied law at university. Yeah.
Right. So you ended up doing law, but without an idea of that you wanted to become a lawyer, just because you wanted to go to university and you didn't want to study history because you didn't want to become a teacher.
That's right,
but become a teacher is what happened. Is that right?
That's exactly right, because once again, having finished law, I was then offered a job, and it's sort of almost unbelievable today, but I was offered a job as an article lawyer, article to a solicitor, and offered the monumental wage of £1 a week.
What year was this? This must have been
this was
quite a while ago.
Yeah, it was quite a while ago. Yes, it was 1964.
Okay.
63. Yeah, 1964. So I was offered the job at £1 a week. So I think mainly it was to keep the riffraff out. So they regarded me as one of the riffraff, and they certainly kept me out because there was no way that I could repay my parents by carrying on with law at £1 a week. So then I'll cut it down, but I then finished up in Switzerland working in a hotel, came back home, and somebody said, there's a job going. And I realized at this time I'd saved some money from working abroad, but I thought, now I've got to repay my parents. So a friend of mine said, come to this secondary modern school. They're desperate to get a teacher. And in those days, you didn't need any training to be a teacher, but they were pretty short of teachers. So with a law degree, an honours degree in law, I was allowed to start teaching straight away. So I applied for this job.
Wow.
And that was it. And I went in, and that was it. I was in teaching. Just if there's anyone listening and they're having doubts about their abilities as a teacher, I assure you, I was the worst teacher that ever went into a secondary school.
I imagine you had no training as a teacher, so they just threw you in the deep end. What were you actually teaching? Was it English?
Yes, it was English. They were desperate, absolutely desperate to get someone. It was a pretty hard school in a lot of ways. It was a boys-only secondary modern. It turned out later these kids were great; they were brilliant. But to me, at first, knowing anything about teaching, I had a pretty difficult time. I started in January or February, I think it was. By August, I'd lost the time when we broke for holidays. I'd lost a stone in weight. I was an absolute shell, but I still can't see it.
What was it that you found the most difficult not having had training? Was it classroom management, or was it? Yes,
exactly. But I had a classroom management. I was absolutely the world's worst. I really, really bad at it. But I had a superb deputy head teacher. The head teacher was not very thrilling, but the deputy head teacher was very good, and he taught me what I should be doing. But at first, they put me with a pretty unruly class anyway. So I've got this class that they were called Middle B. I still know quite a few of them, and it's funny because they turned out to be great kids. It wasn't the problem with the kids; it was my problem that I hadn't got a clue what I was doing.
Right.
But in the second year, they gave me a first year class, and of course I was more experienced than they were because I'd been there 4 or 5 months. So then things slotted into place, and I realised the way through to these lads. They were all lads, lively lads from council estates, as I was, and so I went from there, and then well,
how long did you stick with that then, Alan? How long did you stick with in that school?
In that school, I stuck with it. Well, it's still in my blood, if you like, but I stood with it in the actual school, and then the schools sort of all changed. The grammar schools disappeared, comprehensives came in, so we were mixed then with a girls' school. I left for a spell and went to another school, but then after that, I'd set up in the town where this was. I'd set up quite a bit in the way of sports for the lads, you know. Yeah. So that became through that. I knew a lot of people. I got to know a lot of people in the small town where it was. It was Haywood, just outside Rochdale. And through the sports, I still know those lads who I taught at that original secondary modern school.
Right.
Quite unique, really, but I still know them because they were with football teams that I used to run in the town. So I really obviously got to know all these kids in that time, and still know them, the ones that are still living. So yeah, that was the story of how I got into teaching.
Wonderful. And then you moved, I believe, to teach special needs. Is that right? In the 70s?
Yes, I did. I had 10 years with special needs kids.
How did you become involved with that? What was it that attracted you to teaching special needs?
Well, I'd stopped for a while. It was only a year, but I went down. I was always doing things that were on the side. Del Boy, wheeling and dealing. So I did quite a lot of wheeling and dealing, and one of the things that I wheeled and dealed in was sushi materials. I was in London for a year, and we were selling sushi materials. The suits went out. It was at the time when the suits were going out. So I was only a couple of years doing that before we had to finish because we weren't making any money. So I came back then to Rochdale, and I got a job in a special school. So in this special school, I was there for 10 years. Oh, and then, of course, I met my wife towards the end of that time. I got married. And in 2088, we moved over to Spain. But for the last
1988.
1988. Sorry, yes. Yeah. We moved over to Spain. That was the 6th year of my teaching. But we opened as well. I was always into, after the advent of the Apple Macintosh, and we got BBC computers in school. Then I was into the idea of computer-assisted learning. So
that's quite early on. You were involved in that.
Very early on. It was. First of all, I went to we started to get the BBC in school, and I thought, oh, this is good. The kids used to love it, So we did these strange games like Granny's Garden. I remember that very, very vividly. It was for teaching using Granny's Garden for junior school kids. Great stuff. But I started this. My wife and I, she was also a teacher, but by this time we had a couple of kids. We certainly had the first one, but the other one was on the way. So we had 2 children, and I bought a shop with. I was always doing a bit of wheeling and dealing on the side because we used to finish school at 2:30. So I had a lot of time on my hands. I wasn't really frightened of spending hours doing things, and we opened this shop called Class of 85, Class of 85, which stood for Computer Assisted Learning and Software Supplies.
Wow! Yeah. This was in Spain, or
no? This was
in the UK.
This was in England whilst I was still teaching. I was in my 6th year of the 10 years at the special school. So we used to finish school at 2:30, so I had a lot of time, and my wife used to work in the shop during the day, and I'd go in the evening, and I'd get kids in, and we would do computer assisted learning. But wow. I only had one BBC computer, which was pretty quick, and I had a stream of spectrums. The idea was to be teaching in this place, this shop, but also to sell software. Well, it soon became obvious that for the teaching side, with the spectrums particularly, working on a tape that they would they would get into the middle of the program and then, Alan, it's gone off. So I was
did you write the programs yourself, Alan?
Oh no. These were programs that they had at the time, but they were programs designed for education. And I thought, wow, this is the way forward, you know. So they were designed for education, like Granny's Garden and other programs. But the educational programs weren't as exciting as the software programs that I was selling. So anyway, to cut a long story short, that was another of my failing businesses. But we got an offer we couldn't refuse to go over to Spain. So that was it. We came over to Spain. But
and that was to open a school, is that right?
Yeah, the original intention, I was going to get into the software business and start selling software in Spain. But my wife was adamant. She said, look, there's a lot of people want to learn English. Start doing English. So I started just doing one-to-ones. And then, there were early days and we were, I suppose, pretty successful. We started in 1988 and we're still going. So I suppose we were quite successful at that. And
if you're still going since 1988, that's very successful, I think.
Yeah. There's
given all the changes that have happened since then.
That's right. But there are still things there. Well, it's today. I mean, we're going into the subject of the importance of technology in education. Yeah. Well, going into that realm, there are certainly things that whereby you can make a good living out of it, I think.
Yeah.
But before I came, I didn't know what I was going to do when I got here. But before I came to Spain, there was a teacher, a lady, a girl who used to come in. And she used to help a kid in my class. I was at a special school, if you remember.
Yeah.
This special school, one of the kids in my class, he was a bright kid, but he didn't know a word of English. He was from Pakistan. A lot of Pakistanis came to Rochdale because they were working in the mills and etc. So this lad was from Pakistan, but I thought he's as bright as a button, this lad, but he didn't speak any English. And a girl who knew quite a bit about this, she had the wonderful job of going around to different schools and sitting with the kids for an hour or whatever and speaking to them, improving their English, teaching them English. So I asked this girl, I said, just give me, I said, I'm going to, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to Spain to live in Spain. And I might be doing some English teaching. Just give me the name. I said, I haven't got much time. Just give me the name of one book that will help me if I go and I can read it and learn what I'm supposed to do with these kids in Spain, kids or adults or whatever. And so she recommended, thankfully, she recommended crashing and, acquisition rather than learning, which was completely different than the way they try to teach us languages in England.
Of course, yeah.
Foreign languages, which was quite a stream, because at the gun school where I learned German, the teachers couldn't speak German, but we did a lot of these grammar exercises. And when I went to Germany, I couldn't speak German either very well. So the language acquisition, I thought, yeah, that sounds good. So I also went on a thing at Lancaster University for a week, and it was with a team from, they're called the Pilgrims. I don't know whether you know of them.
Pilgrims, yes. It's in
Canterbury.
Yeah.
Well, the way that they were teaching it slotted in well with what I'd seen from reading Crashing. So that was
it. that would be around the time, that would have been Mario Rimbalukri, is that right?
That's right, yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
That's
I've met Mario before.
Yeah.
I think he passed away last year.
Did he?
Yeah.
What a shame. But that was him, Mario Rimbalukri, yeah. And I just learned that, and I had a week there and thought, oh, this is good this year. I'll try some of this stuff there. And so we came to Spain, and I stuck to Lethia even then.
When you came to Spain, Alan, did you start off trying to integrate technology, computers into your teaching, into the school as well, or did that come a bit later?
No, that came a bit later. What I did see that was that it was well, I got sort of two sort of foundation stones for it, really. If you're learning another language, I would have thought that it helps tremendously if you have a good ability at listening to English, and you can understand it, and a good ability at reading English, you can understand that. So I've always used those two things as the basic foundation stone. We didn't at first have computers, but what we did have, I brought from, well, I bought them over there, but I'd used them in England. Absolutely brilliant. They're still going, actually. The what's the word? SRA cards from America, which is a reading scheme, an intensive reading scheme from beginners all the way up to university level. So I'd use these boxes in a school in England, and I thought, wow, this is the way to be doing it. Individualized. What I used to do is I used to have the school, and after school, I used to, because I couldn't use them in the class all the time. So, and it was a school of 1,000 students. Yeah. And they all had, a lot of them had brothers and sisters at junior school as well. This was a secondary school. And I said, right, every Monday, I'm going to take the reading labs. I persuaded the school to buy these reading labs. I'm going to take the reading labs, and we're going to, you can come when you like. And I'm going to stay open on Monday evenings, and we're going to be open from 4:15 until 9 o'clock at night. You can come before school, you can come after you've been home and had your tea, you can come back, you can stay half an hour, or you can stay all night, all evening, you know. So I did that, and it made a tremendous difference. I had a boy in my class who used to come with me into this room that we had, and he used to come in and start with me. Then he'd say, I'm going home now, and he'd go home and have his evening meal, his tea, and then he'd come back and dive back into these cards. They're called SRA cards, American outfit. They still sell them, and I've still got a lot. But used to use those, and it made a tremendous difference. This boy had a reading age, unbelievably. The average age of the class was 12. He had a reading age of 9. By the time he'd finished after about 6 months, because it finished after about 6 months, but by that time, he's gone from 9 to 13, right? Wow. So can you imagine the difference that made to his ability in class? Yeah. From being one of the slower lads in the class, he was in my class. From being one of the slowest in the class, he was now the best reader in the class, and and it obviously made a tremendous difference to him. I'd love to wonder what happened to him, and I don't know. But
you've lost touch, yeah, of course.
Yeah, I'm sure that he did very well, but he wasn't frightened of doing a bit of work, and he enjoyed doing these cards, and they worked. Yeah. We still have them today.
Yeah. So, Alan, what about did you then later integrate technology into the classes?
We did,
the English classes?
We did, yes.
What came first? Was it the the time when I remember I worked in Spain when there were a number of different computer-based language
Oh,
schools
there were, yeah.
that had
No,
opened.
no, it wasn't like that. No,
Right,
the main sort of foundation stone of it was that I thought, and I think it's pretty obvious really, but I thought that if people can understand what's being said to them, if they can understand what they're reading, then that is a beautiful foundation for learning a language, because it's pretty difficult to learn a language. I mean, when I was at school, obviously we were doing grammar. I took German.
Yeah.
We were doing grammar, and obviously the teachers couldn't speak German. You know, they just gave us grammar exercises.
Of course.
So to have a high reading level and a high listening level, great. That's the foundation of it all to me. And so I started with the boxes, the SRA cards.
Yeah.
And I started with those, but they weren't very popular. But the one reason why they weren't very popular is that the students that come to us, this was in Santander, the students that came to us came from all over town. So whereas at the school where I'd introduced the cards, in England, they all lived close by. Mm-hmm. So these kids would come in. So once they left us, they went home. So they weren't very popular. One or two of the kids who lived nearby did use them and did improve. They were
meant to be used after school. Is that right? After class, not in class.
Well, you could use them in class, but that was taking away precious time, because the kids in those days, the students in those days came about 3 times a week or 3 hours a week. Yeah. And then this cut down. They started to get pretty good in some of the schools in Santander. So it cut down to 2 hours a week. A lot of them were only coming 2 hours a week. Most of them were children. Most of our students have been children. Yeah. So it was taking precious time to be using these cards in class that they were needing to be preparing for exams, because most of the kids that come were to take exams. Most of the kids who come to us are aiming to take exams. So so using it in class wasn't very effective. So I don't know, you've probably heard of read theory. Read theory, pretty.
Explain it.
Read theory is reading with cards, and it's you can do it online now. You can do this online, and it's reading, intensive reading. You know, from the age of 6 or whatever, when they start reading, all the way up to university level. So you can judge exactly where they are. Right. So that was great. We used these cards online, and it made a tremendous. It has made a tremendous difference.
This show is brought to you in partnership with Hachette Learning, publishers of professional development books and resources that support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. Level up your professional development today and visit hachetlearning.com to explore the full range of titles.
Hey teachers, it's Tom here from Teachers Talk Radio, just dropping in to tell you about Teachers Talk Connect 2026. We are back with our amazing big annual CPD and networking extravaganza in Manchester. It's on Saturday, the 14th of March, and tickets are completely free for teachers. Just head over to ttradio.org/Connect 2026 to grab your ticket today. We can't wait to see you there.
You've jumped a bit there then, because was that the first use of online learning that you started with? Because
yes, really it was using read
sometime
theory. But then there was a problem with it. Right. The problem being that there was no sound with it.
Okay.
So we had the idea, which we used we set up a room which we've still got in Santander of 25 computers, and on those computers we made and we put some videos from YouTube. But you know, when you go on YouTube and you ask for something, you've no idea what level it is, etc. Well, we started this whereby we've got the complete levels from 6 years of age when they start reading and listening, and now they've got listening, so they've got reading and listening, so they've got the two foundation stones of learning a language, reading and listening. So we have these as well that go from, and we give these free. These are free, except that with our students, we also have something added on, which means that we know, they know, the parents know the exact levels that they're at, you know. So we put all these videos from YouTube in order from a very low level, you know, nursery rhymes, etc., whatever, until C2, from A1 to C2, and we have all those. And our students, in addition, we've got, in addition to that, our own way for the students who come here of knowing exactly where they're at. So it's individualized. So what happens is that they do the programs, and if they get it wrong, it comes up again in a few days later, you know, that sort of thing. So it's individualized. So we know, the student knows, the parents know, all the school knows, everybody knows the exact level of the students at listening to listening and completing these games. And there's about 60 different games that we use. We use WordWall a lot. WordWall is pretty useful. So we use these different games and different ways of them assimilating all this written and spoken audio. So that's basically how we do it. And we all know the level of the kids. The kids know the level. I know our job then becomes to say, Anna, come on, what are you playing at? You haven't done anything this week. And it allows them to do it at home. Yeah.
And so, Alan, what about, just to move you on to things that are changing now, because technology is becoming more and more complicated and more influencing the way that people teach and learn. What about, how do you feel about how technology is being used now by kids, and what are the pros and cons with that?
Excited and worried to death.
Oh, really?
Excited and worried to death. I can see the tremendous advantages that you can get from it, but completely worried about the amount of screen time that the kids are getting, etc. In fact, I'm devoting quite a bit of time to that. The disadvantage, I mean, the advantage is you've got everything, you can get things individualized. And with AI, you can do some very wonderful, marvelous things that are useful for class, and they're very useful at home. Because I do realize that, you know, with us, they only come to us for about a couple of hours a week. So the majority. So then we're doing an hour on the computer. Well, not enough. So here we can put them stuff to do that they do at home. So there's that, and it's individualized, and it's got sound. So yeah. And in class, you can do some wonderful stuff that you can use in class as well. It's quicker. They learn a lot quicker than they do in a classroom, which I suppose is obvious. If you've got 12 kids, which it is with us, or 30 kids as it used to be in England. If you've got that, then they're all at different levels, even though the classes pretend that they're all the same level. They're obviously not. So it's individualized. It's a lot quicker. And everybody, the parents, ourselves, know exactly what's happening. But with AI now, it's very frightening, very frightening. And I'm sort of specializing now in finding out all the problems and trying to make the problems aware, because I feel as though it's my duty, after having spent all this time in education, to attempt to help those wonderful people, and there are quite a few wonderful people doing this, to explain what's happening to them, because we're becoming, with the increased screen time, and it's been a dilemma for me, but I do, the fact that we use computers, and I'm asking them to use computers at home, it's a dilemma. But the one thing is, they are doing educational stuff and they are learning with that. The real problem is the 50% of the time they spend on silly things like social media and Facebook, which is designed to get the kids at 5 years of age and 6 and 7 years of age. It's open to manipulation, and the thoughts of chatbots. Oh, dearie me!
Yeah. Have you seen a negative influence of chatbots, of AI, on the students? Do they use it for cheating, for example, or?
Yeah, I mean, they all, I mean, it doesn't affect us tremendously. They have to do a few essays, and I don't really know to what extent they're doing that, because I'm not in the classroom, but it's a question that I would ask. But I would ask, the teacher. But from that point of view, yeah, there's certainly dangers. But I'm worried about things like chatbots and the effect it's going to have on universities, and the dangers there are in secondary schools, and the fact that everybody's walking around like zombies, with mobile phones, all that stuff. It's gone silly. And now with AI, well, I mean, that is the danger of that. The advantage, as I say, I look at it with in anticipation of all the good things that you can do with it, but also very fearful of all the bad things. So I've got very big doubts about all that, and it's a dilemma I have, even with these asking them to do some things at home. Though I do know that they're actually doing educational stuff, which is tremendously helpful for them. But the very thought of even having a classroom upstairs that's got computers in, but when you see them, and we get 25 in the classroom at once, and they really do work at it, but they're just working on that. But then I think, and now the poor little things or older things are going home, and so it's frightening.
Do you think, for example, what kind of effect do you think in the longer run, do you think things like chatbots and AI will have on language learning and teaching? Do you think there are some teachers who are worried that people won't want to come and learn a language because of automatic translation, etc.? Do you think that might be the case, or do you think that's exaggerated?
I could well imagine that depending on prices and things, but that again brings its problems. The chatbots, they are good for practicing talking, but it's very frightening when they get into the chatbots. They're all selling these bloody courses now. They're selling courses about listen to this and listen to the other and talk with this person. that is really frightening, that they're talking to a machine. I mean, it's bad enough to watch them scrolling and walking down the road like zombies. And that's not just the children, but we used to have the children. We've got a space outside, and the children used to come. There were children from all different schools, and they'd come and play and talk to each other and do the things that normal children used to do. They'd play a bit of football, etc. And they talk to kids that they hadn't seen for a while, and great atmosphere. They all walk in now with a thing, and they're just zombies. They're just scrolling zombies, I call them. I don't call them to the face because they wouldn't like me for that. But that's what they are. They're scrolling zombies. And usually they come with their parents and grandparents who are also scrolling zombies.
Yeah, it's everywhere, isn't it?
That's frightening, but perhaps even more frightening. And to get attached to those. They're getting attached, people are getting attached. I once saw... Well, it's a famous thing, and it's called Mind the Gap. I don't know if you ever saw it, but it was a video called Mind the Gap. And it was only a short video, and it became something that we used in class. Mind the Gap was this lady who used to come, elderly lady, who used to sit on at a railway station, and she was sat there, and she would just sit there peacefully, and every so often a voice came on. It was at a railway station, and every so often a voice came and said, when you get off, mind the gap. When you get off, mind the gap. The same thing. So everybody's wondering, what's she doing there, sitting there every morning to mind the gap? The answer was that the person who was saying mind the gap, it was a recording of her husband who had died. She was going just to listen to her husband's voice. Wow. Chatbots came out, and now, with chatbots, first of all, they tried to get money from it, that you use a chatbot to talk and have a conversation with and this is frightening, to have a conversation with a chatbot, your friend on can have a good chat with them. So looks at first instance, you think, well, that's pretty good, that, because you can learn English like that. You can learn whichever language you want like that, talk in that language, and you're getting lots of practice for that. But then thinking of it, the attachment that they get, I mean, you probably know they're already getting great attachments with these things, where they think they're actual people, and there's people that are addicted, adults as well. So think what it's like for children. Adults are addicted to these, talking to a computer. So that is quite frightening. So it is a frightening time. And even more frightening now with artificial intelligence, which is going at such a fantastic speed now. It's going exponential, and it's worrying, very worrying.
Yeah. So just to kind of wind things up now, Alan, because we're coming to the near the end of the time that we have for the show together. How do you think things are going to change, given everything you've seen back from starting from when you were using spectrums back in the 80s to help students learn, to cards, to then internet, and now AI and chatbots? How do you see things are going to change, if I can put you on the spot there?
That's not putting me on the spot. I've been thinking about this for a long time. Well, it's going to, if we talk just about the education field to start with, but I mean, it's got massive implications. And the thing is, it's a tsunami. It's not, people say, well, it's like the Industrial Revolution or the Agricultural Revolution. It's not like that at all. This is going to be exponential. You don't need to go far amongst the big lads who know a lot about it to realise how worried they are about things. How's it going to change? Well, just in the very short term, I mean, the next 2 or 3 years, I think it's already happening that people in it will affect first in the educational sphere the people who are working in universities, because it's, I mean, in England, I don't know what the price is now, but it's pretty expensive to go to university. Takes a long time. One teacher, one expert, the sage on the stage at the front, and generally speaking. Whereas now you can do that a lot quicker. You can learn most subjects a lot quicker. So they need to adapt very, very quickly, because there will be jobs lost there. I think there already have been, because there's less people now applying for school, for university in the UK and in America, of course. So that's going to be quite a big worry, because I wouldn't advise my grandson to go to university now, because he can do it a lot quicker and a lot more efficiently by using what there is available online. There are whole courses now that are free. Well, a free course on something which is completely up to date, rather than paying, I don't know what it is, a year. It's very expensive in the UK. What is the price in the UK now?
Oh, I don't know. But you're right. It's quite expensive now.
It's a lot of money, and they've got that debt all the lies. So you can do it for nothing. There are courses now that you can do for nothing. So it's going to affect that first. And I think secondary education, it'll come, I suppose, next. But at the bottom of the scale, we're still okay. I can't imagine. I might be wrong here, but I can't imagine robots in the Guarderia.
And what about the kind of language teaching you do? Have you seen any indication that students aren't as interested in learning languages now, or have you not seen that?
No, not really. We're still at year one, aren't we? Really, in this sphere. I don't know. I haven't thought deeply about how I think my thoughts on how it will affect language teaching. Obviously, it will affect anybody who wants to learn a language now. Can do, but they've got to design themselves how they're going to do it. But the younger kids, particularly, they're not going to do that. But the adults, teaching adults, we don't have a lot of adults now. But teaching adults, do they need to go to? I don't know. It's a difficult one now. How it will affect language teachers. But affecting teachers, quite definitely university teachers. And then down the line, perhaps a few of the secondary moderns. And perhaps there will be more people learning at home, than which, of course, means you've got to have... There's something, I don't think we're going to have time for this, but there's something interesting that they're doing, and this was something that I thought would come immediately. This was in 1984 when the first Macintosh came out. I thought they were going to be doing all the basic subjects. They would be doing them with computers. That would come very quickly, and that the school would be where you went to do interesting things, and sport and drama and speaking and etc., debating, etc. A host of that you did together. And I've been waiting for that for years and years and years. Never came. Then I found out only a few weeks ago there is a place that's doing this in America, and there's spreading. That they do 2 hours every morning on the basic subjects, which computers are perfect for. Dive through that, and in the afternoon they've got all these different options of things that they can do. They can do with in groups, which is I think that looks a good way to be doing things today, because the beauty of the computer is that it's individualized, it's a lot cheaper, they learn a lot quicker, and all the stakeholders know what the levels are. So that's the beauty of it. Since we introduced the computers here, we've had much better results in exams. They all come for exams, most people come for exams. We've had much better much better results in exams. We've got they only come a couple of times a week. They do one of those lessons preparing for exams, and one lesson on our computers, and the rest they do things at home on computer, and it's allowed them to reach pretty high levels pretty quickly. So it's not unusual for even though they come twice a week, though they do it at school as well, and some of the schools are very good. It's not unusual for 16-year-olds to get proficiency, and certainly to get advanced. So I think, well, it's a very big story, and we could do, you could do another hour on it, but it's going to make a lot of difference in lots of ways, and it's frightening in very many ways when it becomes far more intelligent than us.
I think that's probably a good place to stop, Alan. Not a very positive note, but certainly a word of warning for teachers.
I think there'll be a fight back. There will be a fight back, and people will begin to realise what they've lost. In fact, they're already doing that. I mean, in fact, a lot of the kids themselves are doing this already. They have at schools where sixth formers have been saying, "Yeah, what we've been doing is wrong." I wish I saw more real people and things like that, rather than be slaves of the. Well, I mean, trying to make us stupid, aren't they? And it's working so far. But there will be a fight back, and there are some people, quite a lot of people, good people, who are fighting against this slaves to
technology.
Slaves to the mobile phones and technology.
Yeah. Alan, thank you so much for your time. I've been really enjoyed speaking to you about all of the changes that you've seen happen in education, and seeing how your journey as a teacher and beyond developed. It's been great speaking to you.
Thanks very much. Likewise, and it's my pleasure. Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of today's Teachers Talk Radio show, Late Show. Thank you for listening. If you got this far, I will be back in 2 weeks' time. Bye for now.
You've been listening to Teachers Talk Radio. Tune in live and listen back at ttradio.org. We look forward to hearing from you next time on Teachers Talk Radio.